Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's for us a very special moment to be here because in Europe it's now about -5 degrees and it would be impossible to sit outside and to have such a beautiful surrounding. It's our first time in India and we are still overwhelmed by all the impressions and it's such a different culture, but I somehow have the feeling I feel at home here. I like to be here. I wake up in the morning with a big smile on my face. And so thank you so much also to the festival for having us here. When I was a little boy, but before I continue, my wife will say some words.
So we are so happy that we could come and tell you a story about this, how love can heal the past. This will be our main topic. Uwe, continue, and then I will.
Yes, when I was a little boy, about 5, 6 years old, I discovered in the passport of my father his place of birth. I was living and born, even grew up in a very tiny, small village with a dead end street, so surrounded by some mountains. Really not a very urban place, quite abandoned. In Western Germany, about 100 kilometers in the east of Cologne is some bigger city, 150 kilometers Frankfurt, and so a small city. And I was born there, and so in the age of 5, 6, I discovered in my father's passport his place of birth, and it was Krakow, Krakow in Poland, not in Germany. So I asked him, Krakow, where is it? And he said, in Poland. And he said, yeah, because my parents were there in Krakow. And I asked him, and what they were doing there, why they were in Krakow. And he answered, don't ask me, I don't know anything. My father couldn't know anything because he was an orphan. He and his 5 siblings became orphans in the age between, yeah, 8 months and 8 years. The oldest siblings of my father were born in Vienna and my father in Krakow. And yeah, my grandfather, his father, died in February 1945. My father was 2 years old, and his mother, my grandmother, in November. So all 5, 6 children were taken to foster parents or to orphanages in Germany, in Austria. But why my father exactly came to this little tiny village in West Germany, don't ask me. I don't know why. Why I'm here, I don't know it. So, but already in the age of 5, 6, I had the feeling something went wrong in our family. And I asked again, also the sisters of my grandma who were still alive, no answers. And then in the age of 14, 15, there was an American serial in the German TV which was called Holocaust. And in this, with Meryl Streep, very famous actress, and 4 evenings we were sitting in front of the TV and watching the story of a family from Berlin, a Jewish family called Weiss, from the beginning of the Nazi time until they were killed in the Warsaw Ghetto or in the death camps and concentration camps. And it was the first time that I saw my father crying in front of TV and in general. So, and then I had a look on the map, And I saw, aha, my father was born in Krakow. What is close to Krakow? The concentration and death camp of Auschwitz. Two elderly sisters of my father were born in Lublin, today Eastern Poland. What was in Lublin? The concentration and death camp Majdanek. In Auschwitz, more than 1 million people were killed. Recently, on the 27th of January, was the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. In Majdanek, no one knows exactly, a few 100,000 for sure. So, and then I asked again my father, look, father, you were born in Krakow, close to Auschwitz, two of your sisters, Lublin, Majdanek. What were your parents doing there? Don't ask me, I don't know anything. I started to ask again my great aunts. Ah, boy, how you know, it's already such a long time ago. We don't remember anything, and beautiful weather today, isn't it? And nothing. I was searching and searching. I was getting older, but no results, no one talking about anything. And then I became a journalist, working in Central Europe, mostly also in Poland, in the beautiful city of Krakow. And I wanted to write about the Jewish past and Jewish present time of Krakow. Before the Holocaust, Krakow had 65,000 Jewish inhabitants, 1/4 of the people living there. I had some interviews. Maybe you know the film Schindler's List by Steven Spielberg. And I wanted to meet some elderly ladies who survived thanks to Schindler, and they were in this movie. And it was a rainy day, November, typical Middle European November day. You can't imagine, the completely opposite of today. So, and I had still some time, so I said to myself, what to do? Cafe houses are still closed. Then I saw a synagogue, and I said to myself, okay, I entered the synagogue, maybe something for my story. And I entered, and I saw a Jewish man praying there with a typical movement of an Orthodox Jew. And I said to myself, wow, this fits perfectly in your story. So I waited until he finished, and I approached him and introduced myself as a journalist from Germany, if I can ask him some questions. And he, yes, of course. But he didn't tell anything about him, that he came from London to Krakow, that he came every year. Why? For the so-called Jahrzeit, to remember his parents, and what happened to his parents he showed with a chest. They were burned in the ovens of Auschwitz. And then he turned the story and started asking questions to me. Why do you want to ask me question? Why you are interested in Jewish life? Why you want to write about Jewish life in Krakow? And I said I was all my life I was interested in Judaism. And he really said you could be interested in Buddhism or Hinduism. Why in Judaism? And I said I don't know. And then he asked me, yeah, what about your father, where he was born? And I said, here in Krakow, aha. And then, and your grandfather? I said, 1917 in Graz in Austria. And then he looked deeply into my eyes and said to me, I tell you why you are interested in Judaism. Because you feel guilty. You feel guilty for that, what your grandfather did, whatever it was. And I said, I don't know anything. My grandfather is a taboo. No one is talking about him. We said goodbye, and then he asked me, do you have Jewish roots? And I said, no, with a maybe SS officer as a grandfather. I heard something about it. I can't have Jewish roots because they had to prove for 4 generations that they were Aryans in the eyes of the racist Nazis. But then he said, "You have Jewish roots, believe me." We said goodbye. I went home and started really professionally the research on my grandparents, what they were doing in the occupied Poland during the Second World War. What I discovered was really not a pleasant story. My grandfather was a murderer of Jews. He was 1943, for example, in the Warsaw Ghetto, when there was this ghetto uprising, Jews fighting against the SS. And he was one of the ghetto men killing Jews there in the ghetto. So it hit me like a hammer, and but I had the feeling to write a book about the story. And this book was called "If the Perpetrators Are Silent, Their Grandchildren Will Talk." It was published more than 20 years ago in Germany, and it was, yeah, let's say it was a bestseller, because I was somehow the first one openly writing, yes, in my family were the perpetrators. They were killing Jews. They were also responsible for killing Poles. And yeah, the book was published. I went to Ukraine. On the way back from Ukraine, it was in the year 2006, I stopped by in Krakow. Krakow became like a second home for me. I make a long story very short. You already, I have to. But there in Krakow, I was sitting at the table, and close to me, like that, were sitting nice people, talking to each other, photographing each other, and me as a friendly man asking them, "Oh, maybe I can take a picture of you together." And then immediately they invited me to the table. And of course, asking me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Yes, I was for research in Ukraine now. And here in this cafe, I was writing a book." Aha, a book about what? I'm a very bad liar, so I was, I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan, so, but they didn't believe me that I was writing in Krakow about Bob Dylan. So then I said, yeah, my father was born in Krakow, my grandfather, aha, and what he was doing here. And then I said, okay, my grandfather was an SS officer here in Krakow. Then there was silence at the table, and I already thought, okay, it's better to go. And what happened then, this lady will continue to talk about.
Yes, because I was sitting at this table. And I must say I was in shock when Uwe said that he was writing about his grandfather, which was SS officer, because for the first time I met someone who was saying it in such an open way. Especially that my grandfather was killed at Auschwitz and was before in Majdanek concentration camp. What came out during our research, that it was all very connected to Uwe's grandfather also. But why we are saying this story? We started to make research because Uwe already knew a lot about his grandfather, and I didn't know about my family, which because of other reason was also hiding the roots and the past. It's a very typical behavior after war, that especially first and second generation is silent or is talking, but the way that we still don't know what happened. So because we fall in love, and since this time we are together, it's already how many years? 18. 18 years ago, it was 18 years ago. 19. So we, long time ago, we, through this 20 years, made a lot of changes in our life, in life of our families. For example, in my family, no one was going to Germany, no one buy German cars, no one was speaking German anymore, because they were also very connected to the area of war in the Ukraine, so to Ukraine they were also not going. I mean, I understand this generation which suffered the war, but we were already third generation, and we continue. What I really discovered later, not my own fears, the fears from the past, which put me in the cage. I mean, which I put in the cage by myself. So our research was helping us a lot. There was made a book in which we discover also my grandfather and my family roots, which were very multinational and multicultural, because this is how Poland and Ukraine is and was, and I hope will be. And the huge effort and work was to show to our families that we can be together. I mean, we decided immediately because we were in love, so as we say often, love is helping in struggling with many different feelings and family stories. But we discovered also that slowly our family started to change. First, Uwe family was not talking to him for at least 17 years. He was treated as someone who said this terrible truth about family, and they didn't like it, of course. So they didn't invite him for family meetings, they didn't talk to him and his father, so they were all kind of rejected. And it took at least 16 years, this is this period of time when they were digesting this information and started to, when the old generation started to die, the younger ones started to work on it, very late actually, but everyone has his own way. But there is still in his family a lot of depression and suicidal thoughts, which are coming from generation to generation, which is a result of this, what happened in the past, and of not speaking about it also. In my family also it took time. Of course now there is a Ukrainian war which wake up many fears in the area of Poland, because yeah, it's not looking good, the situation for a moment. We hope that these tensions will dissolve, and we in some moments stop to talk about this topic and this project, because we had the feeling when war in Ukraine started that we completely had no success about this, what we were doing, that actually the circle of war and memory come back to the war period, and that it was completely without sense what we were doing. Of course, it's not true. From our books, there are teaching professors which work about trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. They use these examples and they work on it. So it is useful. It is useful also for couples which are from different sides, which wants to be together and where families don't agree or don't like it. Our example shows that it is possible, and that time is healing, and the time is helping only under the condition that we are working with ourselves. Because through all travel we made through France, Ukraine, Germany, in working about our past, we came from all of them and from our ancestors to ourselves to discover that the only place where the work and change starts is inside of us. If we don't do this, all around, sooner or later, will be again not okay. So now we live in Croatia, in a very beautiful place. We have even some Croatian friends here, where is a very international area also, many different cultures where we can feel good there. And this feeling of, because the topic of our speech, which festival made, they made it as a beating the hate. Hate is a very bad word, but it's a very present word now, all over the world. As you see, many things are changing, and people are afraid. And when they are afraid, it's very close to hate. So we started again to talk about our story, because this story is showing that from one side we can really change the past which influence us and work on it. And from the other side, do you hear this animal? And from the other side, the change is a challenge which can influence all our life. I know that I have still a lot to do, that I am, for example, overreacting on some languages which are connected to past of my ancestors. But also I understand that this is not my fear and that I don't want it anymore. The second thing which I discover also, and in Poland, you know, we have a lot of issues about suffering and being victim. So my own challenge was to stop to feel like that. And this was a long work, because it's somehow cozy to stay in this position, to feel a victim and to treat the others in superior way. So it was a process to go out of this feeling. Also about Uwe, I can say that there was a beautiful change going through years from the feeling of guilt into the feeling of responsibility, for example. This is how we can try to switch, if you like. And now you, because I start to preach, so I don't want it.
No, this is very important, thank you, to mention that no one has to feel guilty for that what happened in the past, because we were not living in the past. These were our ancestors doing maybe the bad things, but not we. And this I always say when I'm invited to schools, for example, in Germany or Austria. I say, no one of you is guilty and no one of you has to feel guilty. But what do you have is responsibility, that it doesn't happen again, never again. And this is really one of the reasons why we are doing this. And now it's a very nice moment that this somehow difficult subject brought us to India. And we are happy to be here and see all the smiling people around us. And as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan once said, "It's always good to know what went down before you, because when you know the past, you can create the future." And this is for me one of the most important, not only sentences by Bob Dylan. One very simple, or two simple examples. I like to sleep with an open window. My wife can't sleep at all when the window is open. So you can imagine, we also in Europe sometimes have summer, it's getting warm. I want to sleep open window, my wife close it. We could have a big quarrel, but thanks God I know that it's she's in that moment full of fear, which is not her fear. But when her mother, as a 2 years old baby, with her mother had to hide somewhere in the Ukraine, it was impossible to open a window. They had to hide themselves, even in the strong heat, behind closed windows. And so this is a very simple story. And the other is my father. I hated him. So this is really beating the hate, because we never had a close relationship. He was a teacher, school director, but really very, very tough. But he was not able at all to show any kind of love. He was just not able. But when I discovered why he was not able to show any love, something big changed in me, that I could be the first one and saying, okay, Dad, somehow I love you. Because he was born and educated by strong Nazis who just wanted to have children as a gift for the Führer and new soldiers, but they never received love by their parents, so they were not able to give love. And when I discovered this, yes, so it's really good to know the past, that you can, yeah, explain things which happen in the present time. I'm also very happy that I later discovered my Jewish roots. I really have Jewish roots, even on both sides of my family, on mother's and father's sides. This would be a very different story, but somehow, yeah, and long story to tell you now, but for me it takes me in some kind of position that I'm always someone in between. I never belong to anyone. I'm, I'm not Jewish, halachically, so I'm not Jewish. But on the other side, I have Jewish roots, so I'm not a pure German or whatever, or Aryan. So I spent half of my life in foreign countries. I will never be a local somewhere, but somehow I am. I'm included, and so I'm all the time in betweener. And this is somehow, if you agree with this position by yourself, it's a very nice position.
Yes, so we, as a couples, we very often meet to exercise some situations between us. In the whole world is the same story. So we were searching our identity. We could find a lot of answers, and this made us somehow free. You know, this that I don't. I'm born in Poland, but if I would call myself Polish, no, I'm from Europe. I'm woman. I'm the daughter of Anna and granddaughter of Bela and Katarzyna. This is what I know. I'm artist. I work also a lot about memory, and I use new tools to talk about memory. This is what I can say about me. So I'm just Gabi from planet Earth, and I don't have the feeling that I must identify myself completely as a one place in the world. I'm actually even not able to do it. So when we've met with Uwe and we started to travel together, we started to see value in it, not only an error or a mistake or a difference in us. But of course it was a time, it took time, and then I had an idea not long time ago that why not to talk about women in our projects, because we did a lot of projects together, films, books, visual projects, and women were always heroes, one of the protagonists, but very often as a wives. So last year I was invited in Croatia to show a project where I talk about women from my family and women which shape me. So also from the public space, but which are forgotten. You probably have, all of you in the families, some women which you know the face, or you even sometimes don't know the photo. You know that it was grandmother or grandmother. Somewhere you even don't remember the name. They often change their family names, so it's disappearing. This is how it is in Europe. So this sparkling memory about women in our societies in Europe made that I made a project about it, which is actually connected to this, what we were doing. And I would like to show you a few photos, what we can see. Yeah, this is the project called Can You See Me, in which I started to combine nature, which I was photographing after the COVID time in Europe, when we were closed in the houses, because I was afraid that this nature will again disappear or they will again forbid us to go there. And then I connected and I cover their faces with flowers. If you can, next one, please. So this is, for example, my grandmother, Bella, which I don't know if I cover the face or the name. which was living in the area of Ukraine during the wartime. Please, next photo. And this is a woman, and next, and another lady. These two ladies saved my grandmother and my mother in the area of Ukraine, really risking their life. We found them after war, after 70 years later after war. We had this luck to meet them as an old ladies already. And I must say it was a very emotional moment for me. I just want to say that whole the story we were saying about is connected very much to present and to future, because the present situation in many places is not looking good, but the future can be shaped by our thinking and our relations. And I still believe in it. I give up this idea when official war started in Ukraine 2 years ago, but now I really come back to it because our thinking is very powerful. And this festival makes this that we start to talk to people, we connect between artists, between others. We are very powerful as humans, so we can use this power, and we can use art also to do it. This is what we actually do. Maybe you have some questions, or you want to share some ideas from India or from Europe. You want?
Several centuries ago, the Jews were welcomed in Kerala, and we have a synagogue at Mattanjeri in Kochi. And although all of them have left, people still have lingering memories of those Jews. Nowhere in the world were they welcomed like this. So what's your comment on that?
Thank you so much. To be welcome, it's so important. I remember the moment when we came back to Ukrainian area where my family used to live, and in the house of my family there were living other families, and house was divided on half. There were living two families. That was like 10 years ago. In one part of the house they didn't allow us to enter in the garden, and in the other part of the house they welcome us in the garden, in the house. They gave us the food. We were drinking water and tea with them. And I must say that this was the changing point for my family. Like the circle of bad situations closed in the good moment again. That's what I want to say about us. We are the peacemakers in every moment, in every level of our life. We people can be peacemakers. Everyone can. So I'm very happy that we could meet you here and talk, because everyone can take it home and make his own peaceful work, the peace work.
I should say that you were speaking from the heart on issues of the trauma of partition, trauma of separatism, and not in the sense that we use it in the contemporary period. But the ground reality in many parts of the world, particularly in Europe, is that you have an anti-immigrant mood gaining ground in different ways. Not only there in Europe, but in the United States also. Trump has come to the White House again with this particular slogan that we are the first. And a reincarnation of the Monroe Doctrine in such a manner that you cannot think about a world as a whole. Trump's new doctrine is too dangerous, and I don't know how we can beat the hate. What I'm saying is that when you have come to Kerala and to share this platform, this is a role that the culture has to play, where politicians or politics fails, because literature, art, and other similar cultural spaces can regenerate this feeling of oneness, unnecessarily using past and history to create a kind of hate and other things. I think India is also undergoing a phase of this, the trauma of partition and also the accompanying hates of different kinds. Like in spite of this plural cultural system that we have, we are living in such a wonderful country with multiplicities coexisting. Um, Even a small state like Kerala has more population than many of the European countries. But we have this sort of a cultural space being revived in such a manner that politics should respond to that. I think Trump should be taught literature. Trump should be taught painting. He should be taught music, rather than creating this hate industry in such a manner that the world will be in extremely dangerous situation. So thank you very much for coming here and sharing this platform with us.
We people have to stand together just, and if someone is religious, he or she can pray or meditate. If someone is a good filmmaker, he can do a good film, or someone can just produce great clothes with colors. So we have, every one of us has a lot of possibilities to do something good. And we are all able to do something good. So we can't give the world to some stupid politics who want to destroy it.
And especially here in India, you have a lot of techniques of making yourself peaceful. Yeah, you really are trained in doing it. We in Europe, we are learning this again from you. This, I must say, it was saving really my feelings many times, yoga and so on. So you have this connection, maybe through the nature also, maybe through this area of the globe. Which is making it somehow, for me, easier here. I meditate every day, and I must say I never had such an easy entrance to my state of meditation, which I have here. I must say, first day in the hotel, I was like, I closed my eyes, and I was there, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? It never happened like that. So I think also that art can help in becoming peaceful, in working with fears. Of course, there are different techniques, but you are very right that we have a kind of great opportunity to use art. Actually, it happened not long time ago in the large scale. It was in the time of COVID that people saved themselves through art. Even Netflix films, even the books, poetry, music, we were all sitting home and using these art tools to be peaceful or to enjoy. And I've heard a lot after COVID finished, oh, thank you, thank you. We were watching your film, we saw your video, we listened to your music. I was so happy, but of course we forget fast this kind of things because money should go to weapon and other things, not to this, so.
Sir, you quoted Bob Dylan to study past to create a future. But what I understand is that German people are very hostile to hearing about even Holocaust. Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List, such films are again reminding the past. So where the present day Germans are, have anathema towards a past, which they are hesitant to remember. But Bob Dylan is unlike that.
It's a very interesting question, because Germany, the official politics, the government, in scientists, no other country was digging so deep in the past like the Germans, on the official way. We have a lot of days when we remember, but everything is somehow on the surface, because when you ask what were your grandparents or now great-grandparents doing in the Nazi time, I don't know. 40% of people in Germany never heard about Auschwitz. So what are they teaching at school? So on the one side, yes, officially, but in the families, it was Hitler, maybe 2, 3 others, but me, never Nazi. I, we were supporting the Jews. Once I said, so many Jews never ever were living in Germany, as people say they saved the Jews. So it's really a tricky story. Officially, yes, but in the families, in the villages, until in my village I was 15 years persona non grata, because I wrote a book, a novel, and people in my village thought that I wrote about this. Of course, officially I denied it was not this village. It could be thousands of other villages be in Germany. But of course, there were stories for my. And 15 years. And when I had in the neighbor village one reading, someone took all posters from the walls and things like that. And suddenly it happened about 7 that I was invited with a film. The cinema was full. Then I was invited for a reading, and I asked the organizers how it's possible. 15 years, no one was greeting me here. I was persona non grata, and now the cinema is full, the town hall is full, people are coming. What happened? And they said, yes, some people had to die, to pass away, and now there is the freedom and the atmosphere that we can invite you. So, and this was more than 70 years after Second World War. You see how long the stories continue. And yeah, but I'm very optimistic about the future. I think we are able to do it, and to, if we stand together, we can create somehow a better world as it is today.
I was also thinking of, I'll pass this to him. I'll pass this.
I'm sorry.
I was also thinking of another film, The Pianist,
No.
in which the German officer saves the prisoners, and he has saved others too. So perhaps you don't have to blame your grandfather too much. Perhaps he could also have been like the German officer who saved Spillman.
This was the hope of big parts of my family. Maybe he was some good Nazi or something. He was not. I have more than 200-300 letters of him, and also of his wife. I discovered in basements somewhere, and he was close to Heinrich Himmler, the Reichsführer SS, one of the high rankest. Heinrich Himmler is the godfather of my father. And when my father was born, my grandma wrote to her parents that the Reichsführer SS sent a box with ecologic apple juice, ecologic blah, 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 and vegetables and so on. He was vegetarian, and as a gift. So my grandfather, he committed suicide. My grandfather committed suicide. This I discovered when I was exactly living close to this place where he did it. And there were some reasons why. Maybe he regret what he did, but I don't know anything that he helped someone or supported someone. And unfortunately, no, in his letters, all what he said and wrote, he was also a writer, very tough, very, maybe secretly, we'll never know, but I don't have any hint that he did something good. I don't know.
He said the Cochin Jews are there. Those Jews of Cochin came around 17th, 16th century when Spanish Jews were persecuted by the Spanish government. They said either you leave or become Christians. So they left. Many of them, luckily, the Ottoman Turks took them, and there was no persecution there. And from there, some of them came to Kerala because Portuguese had a connection with India. I want to surprise you saying that Jews were there in Kerala from 1000 BC during Solomon's time. They came for trade. A few families still live some 100 kilometers away in a place called Kodungalur. I have kept a cutting. I wish I could give it to you or send to you. You can add on to your investigation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. If someone is interested, I discovered before we start our travel some flyers, folders with a short information about our history with some photos. If you would like to take it as a souvenir home, you are very welcome. So I think it's time to... Or there are some more questions? I don't... Ah, there's one lady a little bit behind here with a question.
Hi, I'm Geeta. I would like to know what is the role of art in bridging the gap between the countries?
This is a good question. You know, we artists, we are very connected behind the borders. So it's easier for us, for example, to make international projects. This is already first level of connection between the nations. Yeah, I work in the film business, and I work for different projects where I always use few countries. Always is someone from Poland because I have my friends there. Always is someone from Germany, sometimes from Croatia. This is the little circle, sometimes from America. So this is what we do more and more now. We have friends which are musicians in America. We know great projects they do between America and India. Absolutely great, like Frank London, for example. But the best is to make just connection through friendship, in my opinion. Art and friendship is... also, food is great connection spot. We will never forget your great food. Uwe is all the time amazed, and festival is taking care about us. I wanted to say at the end that I'm so thankful to our friend Sabin Iqbal, which is a curator of this festival and great writer, because he found us in the middle of nowhere in a little village in Poland called Sejny, where when he was traveling through Poland. And accidentally, I was there with my friend, artist and poet from New York, Irena Klepfisz. I really recommend her poetry. She's also writing a lot about past and present with a very bright and ironic way. So I recommend to read her. And we were there in this great Borderland Foundation when Sabin was traveling through Poland last September. And there, we were sitting in the kitchen and eating, and suddenly some men came. And before, I was thinking someone from India will come because ladies were preparing kitchen. They said, but no cow meat, no meat. And I was thinking, like, who's not eating cow meat? Like pig, I know. Who is that? Cow? And then I was like, probably some Indian. And it was Sabin. And we had such a great talk together for a few days there in the very cold area. It was already cold. Sabin was suffering a lot. That at the end, a few months later, came invitation to this festival. So this is how we could meet. Thank you, Sabin, wherever you are. We are very thankful. And thank you to all of you so much. Thank you. Yes, you are sister of Sabin. Oh, yes, thank you, thank you. How you say thank you in... Nani.